Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the Pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
She calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, when we started, whole team walk, give me the party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've dime. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get off my shit, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, know it's a KO.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the Pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
Hey, how is everyone doing? For those usual suspects that watch, yes, it's myself, Ryan Tamori, by myself at the moment. Ed Nunez will join me later. Going to be talking a lot more football. If you hadn't known, as of today, we are a month away from the start of the college football season. And UNM is one of 8 teams, 10 teams, 12 teams that play on August 24th, which is deemed week 0. They host Montana State, and they are in some places as much as a 7.5 point underdog. FanDuel, I think, had 7.5. I think Westgate was 4.5. So yeah, that's how I start off this show. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. Once again, my name's Ryan Tamori. A lot to get to today. Talking UNLV football. UNLV football fascinates me. Those early 90 running Rebel teams, the basketball team, fascinated me. I love, who doesn't love Vegas? If you're far pressed to not love it. So at 8:30 from Franchise Sports Media, and you can check him out online, Joe Arrigo, he is a pretty integral part of working with UNLV football and covers the team. And he's very knowledgeable about that football team and football in Southern California in general. So we'll have him on. I think a lot of people will find him fascinating. Ed Nunez will join me at 9:00. We'll talk about the TBT and the disaster that was. I turned that game off. I don't even know what the final score was, if I'm being honest with those listening. We'll talk a little bit of UNM football. We'll talk about UNM football ticket prices. They're basically giving them away. And then prior to Joe Arrigo, we were once again 2 weeks ago. We're at Mountain West Conference Football Media Days at the beautiful Circa Casino and Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas in downtown, which downtown itself is a whole different story in Fremont Street. But we had the privilege of, we were there for networking. We were there for trying to do our, as I always say, journalistic due diligence, trying to talk to as many football players and coaches in the Mountain West Conference as we could. 2 players from each team appeared out of the 12 teams that play football in the conference, and then each coach. We had the pleasure of sitting down with all 3 representatives for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And one of them, which I will play the entire interview, is Ricky White III. He's a wide receiver. He was 3rd team All-American last year. Had well over 1,400 yards. He corrected me in the interview. You can hear it. I'm going to play that entire interview. We also spoke to preseason co-defensive Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Jackson Woodard. 6'3", 225, big brute. He was great, fantastic to talk to. After this show, you can find it on Spotify or YouTube. All 3 interviews: Ricky White III, wide receiver, linebacker, Jackson Woodard, and head coach of the UNLV Rebels, Barry Odom, on our YouTube page. Hey, check out our YouTube page at the Pit Press, or just the Pit Press. Check us out on Instagram at the Pit Press NM. Check us out on Twitter. There we go. Twitter, the Pit Press NM. Let me do Instagram again. The Pit Press NM. And our website is thepitpressnm.com. At least it might be redundant, but it's consistent. I'm going to backtrack. Last Thursday night, we had the pleasure of talking to, Eric had the pleasure of talking to, I don't even know what you call him. His nickname's the Grassroots Godfather. Matt Damon played him in the movie Air. Sonny Vaccaro, he is the gentleman probably most notably known for signing Michael Jordan to Nike when he got drafted by the Chicago Bulls. You can go check that out on our YouTube page. Really, really fascinating interview. Very knowledgeable. He's in his mid-80s, and he was sharp. He was with it. Again, feel free to comment. Tell me I suck. Tell me you like the show in our comment section, whether it be YouTube or Twitter. I don't know if that today was Big Ten. I'm going to preface this before I get to the Ricky White the third interview that Ed and I had in Vegas. Again, UNLV wide receiver. I don't know if that opening was as bad as what Deshaun Foster did today at Big Ten Football Media Days. UCLA is now a member of that conference, and geographically, it makes zero expletive sense. But if you hadn't heard it, this is not only the most awkward and cringe minute and 11 seconds of your life, but also the best. Here it is. I got to go back. Excuse me. That's what happens when you try to produce the show by yourself. There we go.
Coach Foster, welcome to the Big Ten. We'll begin with your opening statement.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be a part of this great conference. Finally putting two great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten.
You're already 23 seconds into it, and you know he's bombing. And I like Deshaun Foster, running back. He went to UCLA. He actually scored a touchdown in a Super Bowl, which probably one of the better Super Bowls of all time. 38 Patriots knocked off the Panthers, but he had like a 30 or 40-yard run for a scamper there in that amazing fourth quarter. He's a great player. I don't know if he's ready for being the head coach at UCLA, but I'm going to continue this interview. Or excuse me, press conference.
We're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. You know, I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC.
We're in LA. Hence UCLA in the title of the school, in the acronym of the school.
We I'm just basically excited, really. That's it. Any questions?
That's definitely they're about to go 2-10. He might be excited, but it probably is going to be a long season. The Big Ten doesn't do a media poll. The Clevelander, or Cleveland.com did a Big Ten poll, and they were finished, without the 18 teams in there now, they were picked in the latter half. So, as the shirt I wear, Records was picked 9th by media members to Cleveland.com. So that was pretty cool. I don't know how many people are watching that are Yankee fans, but that is a sweep by the Mets. So that is fantastic. All right, segueing into our first interview that we're playing on this show. And again, after the show, you can find it on any platform where podcasts are available and our YouTube channel. This is Ed Nunez and I's conversation with Ricky White III, wide receiver at UNLV. Again, a third-team All-American last year. He was quite phenomenal. And I will cue this up here, and I'm going to play this entirety. We also have an interview with Jackson Woodard, linebacker for UNLV. He's probably considered their best player. He is the preseason defensive player of the year in the Mountain West Conference. I know I'm repeating myself, but 6'3", 225. Amazing guy to talk to. And he had some good answers. I asked him about if he opted into being an EA's College Football 25, and he gave the best answer. You'll have to go there and listen to it. You know what? Before we go to Ricky White, I do have a question. John Romero. Ryan, were you at the Conference Football USA Media Days? If so, you can scoop on the Aggies. No, we did not go to that. I don't even know where the Conference USA Football Media Days were. We did not go to that. We would like to give more Aggie coverage. They might be a worse media relations department than a certain university that we cover. I cannot get a hold of anybody down there. And I know that Jason Groves at the Las Cruces sometimes no longer covers them Colin Deaver is no longer KVIA. We had a reporter, Rachel Phillips, who is now in Memphis. So I have lost all contacts down there. I know very little about the makeover of what has gone on at New Mexico State. So that's a topic for another time. I'm hoping here in the next couple of weeks, we can also preview New Mexico State's upcoming football season and how they respond after losing Jerry Kill and Diego Pavia, who did the Lord's work by urinating on a practice facility. All right, here is Ricky White III with Ed and I at Mountain West Conference Football Media Days. All right, Ed, we're still at Mountain West Conference Football Media Days. I might be a defensive guy, given my stature. This gentleman was an All-American last year, wide receiver for UNLV. Leading returner receiver with 1,438 yards as a junior, I think. But I hope I got this all right. 83. Anyway, 83. Yep. Perfect. Thank you for correcting me. His name is Ricky White III. He is all Mountain West Conference preseason. Well, you're on the first team. Let me get it right. I'm butchering this introduction because of how good you are. But welcome to the show, Ricky White III. How excited are you for this season to start, and how can you build off? You're not just known here, man. You are a national name. How can you build off 2023?
Man, how can I build out 2023 is by continue to perfect my craft, working on the little things. I feel like so this off season, I spent a lot of time on just going back over the games that we played last year and even watching some of the top receivers in the NFL like Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. Adding great things, great tendencies that they do to my game, and I feel like when the time is to come, I'm going to showcase that, those things. So, I've been blessed, have this God give talent, but I want to continue to work and perfect my craft.
You answered something that I asked Jackson Woodard, who's a linebacker on UNLV, who he emulates his game off of. You are in a city with Devontae Adams, who has played with a stellar quarterback. Do you talk to him? Is he a mentor to him? Do you see him around, being here in Vegas? Is he anybody you talk to?
I actually have not gotten the chance to speak with him, but once I do, I got a mind full of questions to ask him, and he is a great receiver, and I do look up to him and want to mirror my game off his.
You have it's select and it's a hard thing to do. You are an All-American. You are at a school that predominantly doesn't have. Yeah, you've got Icky Woods. Can't think of the Sports Center's announcer's name. It's going to drive me nuts. But anyway, let's not forget about that in my old age there. You're an All-American. What does that mean to get that accolade at a school at UNLV and you guys building something here? What does that mean to you?
First, it's a blessing. I want to thank my coaching staff, and the players, around me, because without them, I would not be an All-American at all. So I definitely want to give my thanks to them. But it was just the work, continue to put in work each and every day. I feel like I practice hard, which translates to the games every Saturday. And I just had that mindset, that All-Americans don't take days off at all. So, and the rest is history.
I like that answer, Ed.
Ricky, 1,483 receiving.
Make sure you have it right.
Yeah, no, I'm reading it right here.
I'm making fun of myself.
You had 1,483 yards receiving last year. You mentioned Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, things that you watched on film. Anything in particular, setting up defensive backs, stick routes, crossing routes, go routes, anything in particular that you are working on this year to get better? And again, you're All-American. You're probably being looked at, I'm sure, by the NFL. Is there anything in particular that you're working on, or all the route, the routes on the route tree?
I would definitely say every route on the route tree. So Coach Marion does a great job of just allowing us to, not have simple routes. We put in double moves, all type of, routes that you could think of that NFL concepts run. So, I want to thank Coach Marion for that. But things like separation, yards at the catch, pre-snap awareness, sitting in zone or running through zones, things like that. It's always a small thing that you can work on to better your game.
Coach Brendan Marion's go-go offense averaged 34.8 points a game last season.
Yes, sir.
How do you build? I mean, again, everybody's scheming and planning and denying, and they're going to stop you. And how do you build on that and even get better? Because you're working on your craft. Everyone's working on ways to stop Ricky White, right? They're looking at the film like, how do we stop this guy?
Right.
How does the Rebels offense get even better?
I just focusing on the things that we could have did better last year. I feel like that's most importantly our biggest factor right now. One of our goals right now is to have at least 500 all-purpose yards in our offense every game, and you know that's very capable of us because we have so many playmakers, so much speed in our offense. Go offense is very unique. It's not something you've seen. It's not very. It's hard to scheme up, to contain our offense. So I would say definitely just focus on things we could have did better last year would be number one.
So really, you've got creative freedom it's a read offense. So you can change routes if you've got that kind of communication with your quarterback.
Yes, sir.
It's got to be fun for you creatively. Speaking as a receiver,
I get to move around in different outside receiver slot coming out of the backfield, not just only me but other playmakers on the team. So, like I said, Coach Marion does a great job of just doing things he need to do to put us in position to be great, a great offense.
We just talked to linebacker Jackson Wood. Jackson Woodard. That's an impressive dude, man.
No, of course, man.
So you got to practice against this defense, right?
Yes,
talk about how you make each unit makes them each better. They make it better.
We make each other
iron
better.
sharpens iron.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Every day. Right. So we have one. I feel like we definitely have one of the top defenses in the nation. Leading with Jackson Woodard and returning guys that led on the defense last year. They do a great job of communication on defense. And just being in the right position, where they need to be. So, like I said, we just want to make each other better every day. Go at each other, because things that we do at practice will help us come game time.
Yeah, just one quick comment.
Go ahead.
Looking at Jackson, it's got to be a challenge too when they see you line up. It's like, hey man, we're going to win this one. We're going to win this, right? I mean, so it makes everybody better.
It does every day.
Yeah.
Okay, here's stupid question number 4 for me. You played at Michigan State.
Yes, sir.
You're now at UNLV. Two different polar opposites part of the country.
Right.
But what is it like for you being as flashy of a player and you're playing under the bright lights of Vegas? Do you thrive under that, or do you not care?
I do say I thrive. And it's a blessing, man. This city is great. Atmosphere. Being able to play in a Allegiant Stadium is one of the biggest opportunities for me, because we get to play in the NFL stadium. NFL scouts come to our games and practices every day. So it's nothing you could ask for better, just to be in this opportunity, really.
No, that's really cool. And there was just a Super Bowl played in there.
Yeah.
So I understand that's very cool. Looking at your schedule, and again, you guys are picked to finish second by guys like us who don't know anything about football and being in the locker room. I mean, you look at your schedule, you go to Houston, you get Syracuse here. Is there anything on your schedule that's exciting you, or is it one game at a time? And are you looking forward to going to Big 12 country and just being with that first game in Houston on August 31st?
So I want to say first, man, it's a blessing to play every team on our schedule. I feel like we got a real good schedule to set us up, to get us to that 12-team playoff. So like you just said, we want to take every week, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one rep at a time. It's just, if we do those things, I feel like everything's going to fall into place for us.
Did you opt in to be an EA Sports NCAA?
I did.
Of course. Yeah, I love Jackson's answer.
did.
It was to be in the game.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I think I butchered this interview. Usually I'm pretty good, and I'm sorry. I enjoyed watching you guys last year.
Thank you.
That every now and then the fan comes out of me. I'm fascinated by sports in this city, and
Yes, sir.
grew up in central New Jersey, Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Okay.
and now I'm always in Vegas. I wish you you don't need to hear my life story. I wish you the best of luck this season. It's a
Thank you.
joy watching you. Ricky White III, he was an All-American in 2023. First team All-Conference. He's on Fred Biletnikoff. You're the author camp preseason, Fred Biletnikoff Award watch list.
One
Go
quick
ahead.
reference. You're too young to remember Fred Biletnikoff. Look him up. They used to use Stickum,
Yep.
not a fast receiver, a possession receiver, a Hall of Fame
Yes,
receiver.
sir.
Look him up, man. You'd be interested.
I definitely do. So our certificate edition coach Jeff Fish, coached him. So
Really?
yeah, he gave me so much knowledge on him. So
Oh man, the guy,
yeah.
again, not speedy.
Exactly.
But back in the day, and along with Lester Hayes,
Mhm.
cornerback Lester Hayes, they used stick 'em
Yes, sir.
so much so that it would get into the footballs.
Right.
And finally, the NFL said no more stick 'em.
Exactly.
But yeah, so yeah, that's Fred Biletnikoff. I had to mention that.
88 receptions, 1,483 yards, 8 touchdowns,
Oh, man.
average 16 and a half. Yeah. 8 touch. I would imagine I
I
won't be
gave him
able to
20 yards less. I apologize.
I won't be able to talk to you next year, but I'm gathering all of those numbers are going to be a lot higher. Ricky White III, UNLV wide receiver. Appreciate your time, man.
Thank you.
Again, that was our interview with Ricky White III, UNLV wide receiver. Got to go to the comments real quick, man. He was awesome to talk to. Yeah, I know. I know these things, and I got to go to Tommy Gunn, not to be confused with porn star Tommy Gunn or Tommy Gunn from Rocky V. I heard no bell. Tommy Gunn, Kenny Mayne, the UNLV quarterback and ESPN anchor. Who you were thinking of? I don't know why at the moment, Tommy, I could not think of his name. It just escaped me, and I have to go back to this. Ronnie Chavez, how did you not mention Reynold Cunningham, who went to UNLV? I knew it. It did not come to my mind. It just kind of escaped me. We were well prepared. I didn't have a set of questions for UNLV. And the really funny thing is when we got Barry Odom, the media contact for UNLV, who's a pretty cool guy, came over to us and was like, "Hey, do you want Coach Odom?" And we were like, "Well, hell yeah." And he goes, "Oh, he's just eating beef jerky," because Old Trapper Beef Jerky was the sponsor of this Mountain West Conference Football Media Days. And I have pictures of the Old Trapper. And I'm going to give Ed a hard time here because he was like, "Hey, it's Paul Bunyan." And I was like, "Ed, that's because I listen to Jim Rome and Old Trapper is a big sponsor." And I was like, "No, that's the Old Trapper from Old Trapper Beef Jerky." Ricky White was fabulous to talk to. Fabulous. I'm using the word fabulous on purpose there. I can't talk tonight. You would have never known I've attempted to ever host any sort of show. Hopefully in the next couple of minutes, Joe Arrigo from Franchise Sports Media in Las Vegas will be joining us. We'll break down more UNLV football with him. He's a fascinating guy. I think a lot of people will love him. Again, you can go rewatch Ricky White III's interview on our YouTube page, The Pit Press. You can also check out Jackson Woodard, the inside linebacker there, who again was voted preseason co-defensive player of the year in the Mountain West Conference, and our interview with UNLV's head coach, Barry Odom. We will also have more interviews coming along from coaches and players. Not all of them are video. I didn't do any video on the day of the coaches, but with the players we did that we were able to get. So we will also have an interview with UNM's Luke Wysong, Gabe Lopez, and an interview with Bronco Mendenhall, which was not video. We just tried to steer clear of it. I'm going to take a quick break and see if Joe will be joining us at 9 o'clock. Rick Thompson is going to be joining us. Richard. And Ed will be joining. We'll talk about, again, the TBT and everything going on with Lobo football, the season tickets, actual fake news. So we'll get to all that. Again, my name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live, and we will be right back.
I dropped the top on the 6th Street. Fly in my ops, see the envy me. Passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, don't get me started. Whole team walk, give me the party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get on my shit, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, know it's a KO.
Little play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. touchdown. Basket. 47 yards for the score.
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McCamey to Basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head.
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Play fake to Moore, looking up top for Basket. Got him behind his man. Flag down, the catch is good at the 1-yard line. He got him behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. And Basket comes up limping a little bit.
Well, again, this is the only pass they've shown throwing out of this formation, what Ernest Gordon does. Now, he does a better job. I like him to be putting his hand right there. He's looking up. It's a tough call.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. In a few minutes or moments, we'll be joined by Joe Arrigo of Franchise Sports Media to break down more UNLV football. Just played the interview with Ricky White III, UNLV wide receiver. He was third-team All-American. You can go check that out on our YouTube page again and on our website at the Pit Press NM. Barry Odom, head coach, interview with him will also be there. Jackson Woodard, inside linebacker for UNLV. He was voted co-defensive preseason co-defensive player of the year in the Mountain West Conference. He was awesome to talk to. We wanted to throw, as I mentioned, Ricky White's interview out there because of his stature and being an All-American. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because somebody that hasn't joined us in a while is joining us.
Miguel Sanchez.
And I'll give you the full treatment, Miguel Sanchez.
Mr. Hutz, why are you burning all your personal papers?
As of this moment, Lionel Hutz no longer exists. Say hello to Miguel Sanchez.
It's Miguel Sanchez. Which team is maybe the biggest surprises, both positive and negative, in the Mountain West football this year? I think CSU may do really well and BSU plummet. I think a lot of pressure is probably on new head football coach Spencer Danielson at Boise State. He is 35 years old. He took over last year for Andy Avalos when Andy Avalos got fired after covering the spread against UNM at home. I think a lot of boosters were not happy with Andy Avalos. For many of you, you probably know he was a alumni. He played linebacker. He's known for a famous fumble return in a bowl game, I think. So he was one of them. Google gobble, one of us. But I don't know. He just wasn't, wasn't well liked there. I think, and I'm not saying this because we're talking UNLV, they have a quarterback battle. Joe will get into that when we have him on. They have to replace Doug Brumfield, who retired last year after their Michigan loss, was my understanding. And then Jaden Mayava, who had a phenomenal freshman year. He was freshman player of the year in the conference, offensive player of the conference. He transferred to USC, and he is fighting for a position with first starting quarterback there. And, oh, man, USC quarterback. What was the kid that Miller Moss, who had a fantastic Holiday Bowl. So he's competing with him. So there's the kind of talent that we get out of the Mountain West Conference. I think the Mountain West Conference is sort of has a little bit of lackluster the last few years. I think the football conference has been a tad bit mediocre. I think Boise State was good. UNLV's got some flashiness. Really can't wait to watch them play. Not to be all over the place, but UNLV opens at Houston. Talking to them at media days, they believe they can go in there and beat them. They get 2 games at home, I think. Then they have to go to Kansas, who they lost in the guaranteed rate bowl last year at Chase Field, where the Diamondbacks play baseball. They get a rematch with them. KU is playing their home football games this year at Arrowhead. So they will go there. And I just see that Joe has joined us. He is from Franchise Sports Media in Las Vegas, Nevada. His name is Joe Rigo. Joe, I didn't even ask you what your title was, man. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. I am the co-founder, vice president, COO, all that. So that's just kind of what I do for us.
Jack of all trades or every man. All right.
Man, you ain't lying.
How's the Vegas Heat, man?
I went out. Okay. Honestly, when it was 117, when you guys were out here for Mountain West Media Days, that was probably the only time that week I went outside. Was that one day. I didn't go the next day. It's 108 this weekend. I have a high school football event Sunday. So Friday night will be the only next time I go outside. Like, I'm not leaving the house until then. Refuse.
So I took my swim trunks to Circa. I packed them. And I wish I would have known better the night we went live from the cabana at Stadium Swim. I don't even want to call it swamp ass because I was literally peeling the clothes. I took like 3 showers that day, and we didn't go outside again until we had to leave for the airport. So there is a difference between like 117 and 106 and even like 106 to 98. But I love Vegas, and I don't know how you feel about Circa, because I think it's badass, and I know I'm probably in the majority there. Even though I don't really care for walking down Fremont Street, as I describe it, it's like a human oven and you're being baked in skunk weed. But what do you think? What do you think of Circa?
I love Circa. Derek Stevens is someone who I consider a friend, the owner of Circa. Derek's a great guy. He built that for sports fans in mind, adults in mind, that like to have a good time. And to me, it's probably the best venue to watch a sporting event. over the last year when the Green Bay played the Raiders, I had some friends that cover the Packers come out here, and I took them to Stadium Swim. I had a little connect there, and we were there from about 10:30, and I ended up staying through the late night game. And needless to say, it was a shit show. We were all lit. One guy, they had to come check a couple times to see if he was still alive because he was passed out. So it was. I love Circa. I hate Fremont. But I will say this regarding that side of town. For those that do come out to Vegas or are planning on it, they're revitalizing it, and they are gentrifying it. So there's going to be a big tower called Cello Towers, where it's going to basically be like Mr. Drummond in different strokes. You can, buy a place up there. The whole area, though, is privately owned, so there's literally no vagrants allowed. They will actually be arrested if they're in that area. Private security. They're building a Circa 2 right across the street from Circa. So it is about to be. They're trying to redo that area. Off the strip, though, the best spot to watch any game and really hang out and you really don't need to leave the property is called Durango Casino. By far, it is the crown. That and Red Rocks, the crown jewel of local properties here in Vegas.
Circa 2, man. It's the only thing that I will be, and I don't know how many of them are there, and if you've ever eaten there, you could probably inform me. And what I have described this place, and you're not going to know what I'm talking about for a minute of a second. A majority of people in Albuquerque will. I found a place called, and I believe it's called Hash A Go-Go.
Hash House A Go-Go.
Hash House A Go-Go. There's one in the Link, which is where I discovered it, and then there's one in the Plaza. And for those in Albuquerque, it is Las Vegas Wex on steroids. Again, Joe, you won't know it. It's a breakfast diner place. That place is phenomenal. So if they blow up the Plaza, I will be very sad if that place is gone when I stay at Circa. But that place, man, that place is delicious. You sent me last media days, you sent me to the Bootleggers, which was phenomenal Italian. My next question to you is, and I got to look it up, and this is not very good radio or television or whatever we do.
Jacking it all up already, Ryan.
What was that? What was that? I'm already
just jacking it all up already.
Oh no, that's all I do. Have you ever been to Amano's Las Vegas? They pour like the cheese on the. Have you ever heard of it? I follow them on Instagram. Oh no, it looks awesome. It's well off the strip, but I got to go there. All right.
So if you're at Circa or when you come to Circa next year, and for those of you that come to Vegas, the best steak in town is at Circa called Barry's.
Barry's, yeah.
Barry's by far is the best steak in town. Off the strip, there's a bunch of good places. Bootleggers is kind of off the strip. It's right before you get on this, even though it's on Las Vegas Boulevard, it's right before it gets to the strip. But there's a lot of good places outside. But yeah, but Barry's is a spot. Or Herbs and Rye is another really good steakhouse. It's a late night spot. So if you're feeling you're coming in, you had a couple too many cocktails, and you don't want the night to end yet, but you got to put something in your stomach, Herbs and Rye is a spot to go out here.
I'm going to remember that. I will be out in Vegas in October for basketball media days. Then I'm going to be there for UNM and UNLV, which I believe is at T-Mobile. I don't have all the details on that. I think that men's basketball game is at T-Mobile. So I will hit you. I will hit you up, man. Before I get into UNLV football, which you are a plethora of knowledge about, what do you know about the A's, and what do you know about the Tropicana, and what in the hell is going on with that baseball stadium?
You know what? You threw me for a curveball with this one.
I'm sorry. No pun intended.
It's all good. I love it. I got told months ago, and I got it in my phone and my notes from a very trusted person who is tied to the A's in a variety of ways, as well as they're an agent, that Major League Baseball Players Association isn't going to sign off on the Tropicana location unless it is a dome stadium or a retractable roof. Now, with the renderings, it is covered 100%. But at the same time, how good is that going to be? It's Fisher doesn't have the money and the collateral yet to to put down as his portion of the money. You know, Mark Davis didn't have a problem with that. I mean, especially when he went through Goldman Sachs to get the $750 million. I think it's $350 million is what the A's need to bring to the table for that stadium, and he doesn't have that financing yet. I do know that Major League Baseball owners are a little upset with this process because they would rather them stay in Oakland or move to Sacramento and then put an expansion team in Nashville and here in Las Vegas. But the site's scheduled to be demolished in the fall. I just was at the Foundation Room on Thursday night of last week and was with some people in a meeting and took them out to the balcony where you have the $1 billion view starting at the south side of the strip that looks all the way up the strip. And they were in real estate, and I showed them the site, and the first thing that was said was, is that big enough for a baseball stadium? And that's a great question because it is in a flight path of the FAA. The planes fly right over it, so it has to be a certain height. So they're going to have to sink it even lower than what they probably originally needed to. There's still things around the stadium that they could potentially buy and demolish and turn into parking lots or structures or things of that nature. I'm not as bullish on the A's coming here as some people, and maybe it's because of the sources that I'm talking to and the people that I know that's involved aren't lackeys for Fisher and the A's, and they're less than bullish of them coming here. And to be honest, the city, I don't think the city's good. We don't really want them here. If I'm gonna be honest, like perfect. I mean, Vegas is about teams who win. You go back into the late 70s through the Tark era. Thomas and Mack, T&M sold out because they're winning ball games. They're national champions. They have arguably the greatest college basketball team in the history of college basketball from 89 to 91. Then when you look at after the fall of UNLV, basketball, it kind of got rough, and Lon Kruger came in and they started to win games and it filled back up. And then after him, it kind of just took a nosedive, albeit his son Kevin, I think, is doing a pretty good job now trying to right the ship. And this is a critical year for him, in my opinion. You look at the Golden Knights, they came in and what did they do? They won a Stanley Cup within 6 years. But that first year as an expansion team, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. They went out and they had to have a sellout streak. I mean, that place is arguably the coolest ticket in town. The Aces games they're the first WNBA team to have all of their home games sold out before the start of the season. And that's been 2.5 years of sellouts at Michelob Ultra Arena. And the Raiders, I mean, when they're winning and they got off to when they especially 2 years ago, I think McDaniel's first year when they went into the playoffs, that place was rocking when they were winning ball games. It wasn't like, what people think where it's filled up with opposing teams' fans. It's like that when you have a lot like the Steelers fans or Green Bay fans or even the Kansas City fans and 49er fans that travel all over the place. But if a regular team, it's 95% Raiders or 85% Raiders, and there's never been a problem. I've been there since it opened, and I've not seen a fight with a Raider fan at that stadium. And I was at the Philly game where, being an East Coast guy, those Philly fans are brutal. And walking out of there was people high-fiving each other, saying it's a great game. It's a great stadium, and people had a really good time. So Vegas loves winners. The A's are not that. They've had the lowest. I wrote an article about it on Franchise Sports Media a few months ago, and that article, I mean, they're the lowest payroll. I think their payroll actually was decreased even from last year, where they were last in Major League Baseball. They can't afford to come here and not win. If that's the case, it's going to be a colossal failure. Major League Baseball did put provisions in the contract with Fisher to allow him to move, basically saying if you get here and you try to sell the team to get out of paying for what you got to pay for, you're not getting as much money as you think you're going to get. You may walk out of here with a few $100 million. You're not getting the $1 billion or whatever what he thinks he's going to get when he moves here. So he has to hold on to the team. And the way that CBA is now and what they're going to try to do is a lot like the NBA. They're going to try to make it to where teams that don't spend money have to have a floor of what they spend, and if not, they're going to be penalized. So Fisher is probably the most hated owner in Major League Baseball, arguably in professional sports right now. So, I mean, at the end of the day, keep your ass open, just put an expansion team here and see what happens.
I visit there now like 2-3 times a year. I'd be there in a heartbeat to see a team play there, but it sounds like a cluster. You know what? I just, when I look at the Tropicana from a tourist, I don't understand how you can do that. And then we used to love to, this is like 15, 16 years ago. We used to love to stay at the Hooters Hotel and Casino, which is no more, but I don't even think that's whatever they changed it to. I don't even think that it's there anymore. Is it?
No, it's Oya, and it's Oya.
That's it.
But Hooters is still inside. They're not getting rid of that.
God bless. Thank you for the insight for those probably wanting to hear talk about UNLV football or basketball. I got to go to my resident porn star and amateur boxer, Tommy Gunn. Oh, whoops, wrong one. I just wanted you to have this. Hi, Joe. Love reading your articles about UNLV sports. I live in Sin City, so just throwing that your way, Joe. He watched us in Vegas, so I thought that was pretty cool. While I baked at the Stadium Swim Cabana. Still pretty cool to go from there, or still pretty cool to go live from there. All right, UNLV football. I'm going to throw the fastball right. I won't throw the curveball this time. I'll throw the fastball right down the pipe.
Hey, let's go. I'm ready for whatever you got. Just throw it.
Quarterback competition, controversy. I don't know. Jaden, whose name I had to write down phonetically to pronounce it because I always butcher it. Mayava. Yeah, forgive me. And Doug Brumfield was my guy. I was very upset that, for the news you gave me when he was there. I thought he was somebody that could be incredibly special, but Matt Sulka and Haj Malik Williams, I hope I pronounced that right. They are both 2 FCS transfers. Matt Sulka, I think Holy Cross was pretty good. They're both, I think, 4-year starters. Without giving us too much information, who do you think is the starter? And who do you think can be the most successful in Brennan Marion's go-go offense?
Matt Sluka is a stud. First of all, Cam Frio was the Mountain West Freshman of the Year last year, started 3/4 of the season after Doug went out with an injury. Doug is a little brother to me. I've known Doug since high school, was involved in his recruiting process in terms of advice and when he hit the portal, whether or not he should come back and things of that nature. So when Doug had to medically retire, I knew back in November, October, that was going to be the move for him. He had talked to me about it. Jaden came in and did well. Got some bad advice, I would say. He's at SC. He's making a little money, but you're going to be the backup to Miller Moss. And if Juju comes in there next year, you're going to be backing up a true freshman who they have coming in. So you could have stayed here for at least 2 years and probably got a lot more money and went somewhere else. But with this group with Haj Malik Williams and Matt Sluka, Haj Malik is, Haj is a guy that can get out and run. He throws the short to intermediate routes really, really well. He fits the options style of what Brennan likes to do in the go-go. At the same time, when I look at the offense in general, as you see Jacob DeJesus, when you see that offense, when it's fully stacked and ready to go, Matt Sluka fits it. He's a legit 6'3", 2 1/4. He can throw the deep ball. He's athletic and he can run. He throws the short to intermediate routes. He was, for the last 3 years, in the running for the FCS Player of the Year. Sluka is just different to me. He would come out here during the spring and he would be in the meetings, the quarterback meetings, learning the offense. He would jump on Zooms to be involved once he was signed to learn the offense. So he wasn't here for spring because I believe Holy Cross was on a quarter system, so he wasn't able to. But what he was able to do is learn the offense really quick. So I think Sluka, in my opinion, Sluka is going to be the guy, but there's going to be a lot of, I think, Haas Malik involved in the offense. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen them on the field at the same time with some special packages, the way Brennan likes to be creative with the way he runs his offense.
I had a couple other questions lined up for you, but I'm going straight to the man, which is Ricky White III, and I've beat it to death. And I showed that's what I was trying to find a highlight. So I did a terrible job on highlight. That gentleman right there, third team All-American. I mean, I have said, and this is me not knowing shit, I would imagine if he has another season like he did last year, he is looking at being possibly a late first rounder, second rounder. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but how you're around him, you're around these guys. How good of a football player, how good of a wide receiver is he?
Here, I'll give you a quick story. I was at the UNLV's, I was at Barry Odom's football camp in June. And while we were there, Ricky comes out and sees me. And, Ricky and I are really, really close. It's a mentee in a lot of ways. And we start talking, and then Roman Duze walks up, and I've covered Rome since he was out here at Bishop Gorman High School. So I've known Rome since his sophomore year of high school. Rome sees me and comes over and gives me a hug. I'm talking with Rome. I introduced him, and Rome was like, man, you was on our ass last year. I was looking at the numbers. Man, when you're here next year, that's it, bro. Like, man, like Ricky's got a chance to go late first if he puts up the numbers. Some of the things that went, God dug through a good ball. Some of the things that Ricky thought about in the process of returning to UNLV, it was kind of funny because it was after the Boise State game. He and I had a conversation, and he goes, Joe, like, I'm kind of torn because I don't necessarily want to leave. I think there's unfinished business here. But I know I know there's going to be people coming after me. And he was right. There was a lot of schools coming after him for NIL money. But the thing that stood out to him, quite honestly, was if Brennan Marion came back in this offense where he caught for 1,483 yards and 8 touchdowns on, I believe, 73 receptions. Ricky has a chance to put up 1,700 yards, more than 10 touchdowns, and probably as many receptions, if not more, with the more talented wide receiver room, with the additions of Casey Kane and a freshman, Damian McDaniel, who we call Jackpot. And there's a pick receiver that transferred in. And you still have another All-American slot receiver, Jacob DeJesus, who's also our punt returner. So you look at Ricky, I see a lot of he's not as big as Devontae in terms of Devontae's like 6'2", 6'3". Ricky's about 6 foot, 6'1". He's a little more slender. But Ricky's release package is very reminiscent of Devontae when Devontae was at Fresno State. I see a lot of that within him. And I think Ricky in this receiver class, were no disrespect to the kid at South Carolina, the kid at Kentucky, and the kid in Missouri, Ricky is right there with them. And in some cases, I'll take Ricky over him because he's a better route runner. He has a better release package. He's got great hands. He's a competitor. And he's being trained by 2 of the best wide receiver coaches in America. One, Dell Alexander, who is the receiver coach. The other is Brennan Marion, who was the wide receiver coach for Pitt when Jordan Addison won the Biletnikoff. And he was at Texas, where Xavier Worthy and those receivers learned under his tutelage. So Ricky's got the best of both worlds in that. And this is a guy who on Saturday nights doesn't go out, doesn't go party, doesn't go clubbing or anything like that. Ricky goes to the Fertitta football complex, and Ricky runs routes with other receivers and quarterbacks and finishes every route, every catch, taking it to the end zone. Like, this is what he does on a Saturday night. Barry Odom was in his office one day, and he told me this on our show, on the show I do, the Franchise Podcast, which airs every Thursday, about a month ago. He said, Joe, I'm out there on a Saturday night. I'm in there getting some work done. Often the lights go on, and there's Ricky with all the receivers, all the quarterbacks, and he's running the route tree. They're running the offense. and he's finishing plays like you see right there, taking it to the end zone. Like, there's not too many 19 or 20, 21-year-old young men that do that. And Ricky's overcame a lot. Wrote a story about him, and it came out last week. Ricky had a brother. Ricky, originally from Ohio, went down to Marietta, Georgia. Had a brother shot and killed. Another brother killed. Ended up going to Michigan State and set a freshman record against Michigan, catching for 190 yards against Michigan in his only start in 2020. And then 2021 was a little difficult, transferred here in 2022. And you've seen him blossom in 2023. He's the guy that he's all ball all the time. He got his degree this past May, so he only has to take a few classes. And so this guy's focused on football. Ricky White, to me, is I'll take him as the best receiver in America right now. And you liked him too. You had a great interview with him.
I loved him. I'm okay. I have to choose my words carefully here because Jackson Woodard was phenomenal. And what, 6'3", 225, and I'm a heterosexual male, and I was like, damn, this guy's a brute. 6'3", 225. And I was gonna you kind of answer my question about the the transfer, I think from Texas, right? And then Jacob DeJesus, he returned, I think, a couple of kickoffs and punt returns last year, and I brought up that highlight of him fumbling, which was a disservice to him. He's preseason all he was preseason all Mountain West Conference and was for kick return. I've lost my train of thought there. Kick returner and punt returner. I mean, he's got flash too. I feel like you've got two or not just two guys, but maybe 3 or 4 guys offensively. Maybe it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. I'm not an X's and O's guy. I know you are, but this offense looks stacked. And then I didn't even mention Jaden Thomas, who's going to be a sophomore this year, 503 yards, 12 touchdowns last year at running back. How good is he?
Jet Thomas, to have to, and think about it like this. You're looking at a player who came in with no stars, 0 stars. And we got him in here. Wow. And this is the guy that last year there was 2 other players carrying the ball besides him, really 3 other players, including Courtney Reese, who transferred out and ended up going down to Grambling. You're looking at a guy who had 12 touchdowns with having a quarter of the carries. So that's kind of going to be where it is this year as far as Jet and the amount of carry. I mean, I don't think there's not going to be a bell cow back. It's not traditional like that. This offense is made to give guys a break. It's basketball on turf. But he could easily rush for 1,200 yards. I know there's one of the coaches told me when I ran into him the other night that they're worried about keeping him going forward, after the season because he's that special. But look, you talk about that receiver room. Don't forget they added Jaden Bradley, who's at Pitt with Brennan Marion, and came from Charlotte. Casey Kane's 6'3", 200 pounds, and he had a 42-inch vertical during testing in the offseason. The freshman who I think is going to blow up is Damian McDonald. He came in and he told UNLV, look, I want to be an early enrollee, but I want to finish our basketball season at Hitchcock High School in Hitchcock, Texas. And because we have a chance to go back-to-back state champions. Comes in a week and a half before the spring game, and all he does in the spring game is catch a 72-yard touchdown pass on the slant and outruns everybody. You have an abundance of running backs. You have, again, you mentioned Jet. You got Michael Allen, who's a 4'3" guy from North Carolina State. A freshman locally here from Desert Pines, Greg Burrell, who's a big bruising back. Tim Connerly, another receiver, a shorter guy that can get out and run. I mean, this team, D'Angelo Urban is another slot receiver that they got from Midwest City, who can also return kicks and punts, and he's right there just like DeJesus, same size. Corey Thompson Jr., CTJ, he came on at the end of last year and caught a gang of touchdowns towards the end of the year. He caught 2 or 3 at the end of the year. Really came on against San Jose State. And the game before that, which I believe was Hawaii or Reno. It was Hawaii. So when you look at this offense and they return 4/5 of their offensive line, there's not a lot of questions. They got a freshman running back from Sacramento. Let me get his name. A freshman running back from Sacramento coming in. This kid he's special, Devin Green. And then they got a kid from Central Arkansas. If you remember last year, we had a big running back, number 4. I forgot his name slips my mind. We called him the governor though, because he's really politically correct all the time. He's like him, where he gets the ball. He's 6'2", 225, and he can catch the ball at the backfield. And they turned out bigger name running backs that wanted to come here from the portal because they thought this guy was just a diamond in the rough. This offense is ready to explode, and they added a tight end from more of an H-back from K-State, which is something they didn't get a chance to have a lot of last year. And they got Kaleo Balungai, who's 6'8", 265 pounds, starting at tight end for them. And they got a 6'8", 290-pound tight end that's more of a blocking guy that they have too. So this offense is fully loaded. And you mentioned Jackson Woodard on the defensive side of the ball. This is the best defensive team on paper they've had. This is the best team on paper they've had since I've been covering them for 9 years now. And I think this is the best defense they've had by far in that 9 years. So I'm excited about this year, Ryan. This is a team that there's a special quality. Ricky told you guys when you guys interviewed him. I know he told me it, and it's in the article. He thinks they could get into the college football playoff, and he thinks they could catch fire. And that's Ricky's opinion. So I mean, you got to go out and win games. They got a schedule that is somewhat trying, especially early on. We'll go actually week 3. They got to go to Arrowhead to play the Kansas Jayhawks in a rematch of the bowl game last year. And there's no good blood there. And believe me, every guy on this team that I've talked to, and I've talked to a bunch of them, all have certain games scheduled. Boise State, Fresno State, San Jose State, Kansas. Those are all games that are circled on their calendar because they're like there was a lot of disrespect with those teams that beat them in the things that they were saying.
They open up at Houston, which is kind of not, ideal. They're not, I don't even know what they were in the preseason poll. I know they're not as good. But talking to you in Vegas, you said they think that is a game they can fully go and win. They get Boise State at home. They get Fresno State at home. Can you see them? I know this, when you put UNLV basketball is a different story, but when you put UNLV football and possibly competing for a national championship, I think Vegas, I will say this, I think Vegas is a stage for it. I think it is a town. It's funny when you guys were talking about winners, and I was like, man, hasn't UNLV football always stunk? But I guess nobody cared playing out at Sam Boyd, which when I went to a Las Vegas Bowl out there, it blew my mind. It was out in the middle of BFE, and I won't tell you that acronym live on this show, but I don't even know. It's more of like not a comment, but you look at and I'm all over the place, Joe, I'm sorry. But Houston, they get Utah Tech, then they go to Kansas, then they get Fresno State. I mean, and they get Syracuse. If you knock off a Houston and you knock off Kansas on the road and you beat Syracuse, I mean, at least those are 3. What are they calling it now? The group P4. I mean, you get 3 of those wins and you roll through the Mountain West Conference at 12-0. I mean, 13-0. There's no question they're a 12-team member of that playoff, right?
I would think so. I mean, obviously there's a lot of politics that goes into that, but the athletic director, Eric Harper, is now a part of the college playoff subcommittee or committee. So that's always a good thing to have someone in the room that can bang the table for you. Look, they think they can go into Houston and beat Houston. Utah Tech, that's going to be – I'll be surprised if they don't put up 50. And there's a lot of local guys in that Utah Tech team. They're less than 2 hours away from where we're at in Las Vegas. Kansas is going to be a tough one, but here's the thing. Kansas lost a lot, including their best defensive player. I mean, they've lost some guys, and I'm not saying they're not going to be as good. Well, I am saying they're not going to be as good. So we'll see with what happens with them if that's something that if they can take advantage of that. Here's the thing with Syracuse. They've added a bunch of talent. They've added a bunch of talent. And the other thing is they have Rocky Long as their defensive coordinator who retired and then
he's no longer there.
And he left? When did he leave Syracuse?
He's like a defensive consultant at Fort Lewis.
Oh, well, shit. Well, then there goes that. So I was gonna say they torched Rocky Long's defense, with the go-go. So I mean, at some point, I look at that schedule, and I can see them going 7-5. I can see them winning 10, 11 games. There's going to be a loss in there somewhere. I believe that. I don't want there to be, but I believe there is. That Boise State game is. Here's the thing: Boise State game is interesting because there's a lot of different things that happened in that game that Boise did that I don't feel will happen with this group. I feel the quarterback playing, being able to recognize the defense and when they're disguising coverages. And I think Sluka or Hodge or Cam Friel, who's been here now, who's a one-time Mountain West Freshman of the Year, who's a third-string quarterback here now, I believe that one of them will do a better job than Jay at recognizing that on defense. And that's not a shot at Jay. It's just this is what it is. You've seen San Jose State do it. You've seen Boise do it. And then Kansas did it. And he struggled. So if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So being able to read a defense is something that I don't think was one of his strong points. It wasn't in high school. And I don't think he improved that much at UNLV. That's why I look at this quarterback room a lot differently, because I think this quarterback room can and does do that better than Jay. But they also didn't like how Boise came in here and pushed them around. That's something that rubbed them the wrong way. And it rubbed Coach Odom the wrong way. It rubbed the whole program the wrong way. And being at that game and talking to coaches and players after it, it wasn't a fun time. So I think there is a get back factor with that one. Fresno State is going to be a tough one. If you go look at the last few years they played them, it's gone back. I mean, literally, I was at the game in Fresno last year on the sideline. UNLV was ahead at halftime. I believe it was 17-0 or 14-3 or something like that. And then Fresno State came back. UNLV had a chance to win the game if it wasn't for a blown call from a ref on the side who were Ricky ran an out route. The guy spun him around. If he didn't get the offensive pass or the pass interference call, UNLV would have had the ball at the 1 with under a minute left, and they would have probably pounded the ball in. I really, that was a game to me that was very winnable. Now, I say that I wanted to say this at the top, and I'll say it now. Congratulations to Tim Skipper, Fresno State's new interim football coach. I've known Skip since early 2000s, and if I had a job, he would be one of the first. I was an AD. He'd be one of the first people I called. When I talked to Jeff Tedford at Media Day, the day we were together, talking with Coach, it was good to see him. He said he had another health check coming up. He said, health comes first. But he had every intention of staying. But they have the right person to lead them. And Skip, I think the interim tag will be gone by midseason. He's the spark that program needs right now. And in the same breath, congratulations to Tony Sanchez at New Mexico State. I got another guy, Tim was Tony's D coordinator here at UNLV, and Tony Vegas ties. I've known Tony a long time as well. They're two good guys that are coaching. And I say that I think Fresno State's going to give UNLV probably the toughest game, because I know the mentality of that team and how they play, and they have a saying, bulldog born, bulldog bred, and they take that to heart, so that's going to be a tough game. But I mean, look, UNLV, if they get to the Mountain, look, if you're going to ask me for a prediction, UNLV wins the Mountain West. I believe they win the Mountain West. You know, last year I told you they're a sleeper team to get there, and this year I think they win it. I think it's a better team, and I'll even take it a step further. I think unless he gets overwhelmed with an offer from a major school, not a mid Power 4 school, Barry Odom will most likely be back as a head coach.
Yeah, I looked at you like you were kind of batshit crazy last year when you said that UNLV was going to be good, and and I asked you, I was like, "Did you vote for them for number one in the poll?" And it wasn't you; it was somebody else, and I forgot who that guy was. But
they're play-by-play guy.
Cofield?
No, Navarrete. Matt.
Oh, what does Stephen Cofield do? I thought he was the voice of the.
No,
that's
it.
He's a
sideline guy. Yeah, he's a sideline guy. It's
yeah.
Navarrete, Caleb Herring, and then Steve's a sideline guy.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I wouldn't be before I let you go here. I have to tell you this. This is Joe Rigo from Franchise Sports Media in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. So I bought College Football 25 early, and it had been a long 11 years for me. It's great. It ain't the best, but I don't know who the quarterbacks are for UNLV, but I did play as UNLV, and I did get to the college football playoff, and I did beat Michigan before I got killed by Texas in the semi. Yeah, I got killed by Texas, but man, they were a lot of fun to play with. So I wanted to let you know that as I tell that on a predominantly UNM centric show. I played with UNLV, and when I selected them, I thought of you, and I thought about obviously those guys don't remember me, but talking to them. Joe, I really appreciate your time and insight. My phone was blowing up by my business partner and my co-founder here. He absolutely loves you. I know you can ramble and ramble forever, and I love listening to you. We do have to get on with the show, but I will definitely invite you back. His name is Joe Rigo from Franchise Sports Media. Joe, thank you very much, man.
Appreciate you, man. God bless you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I got to get a PS5 so I can get the game. I don't have it yet.
Well,
I'm super bummed about it. So
it's only 8:00 in Vegas. Go to that Best Buy I went to in October that took like an hour and a half to get to from Resorts World to the other side of the strip because of all the. Oh, then go to go to GameStop. Hey,
thank you guys. Appreciate you.
We'll be in touch, and we'll have you on during the season to talk some UNLV football. I appreciate it, man. Hey, have a good one.
You too. Thanks a lot.
That was Joe Arrigo from Franchise Sports Media. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Rick Thompson and Ed Nunez are going to be joining us. Love talking to Joe. He's a plethora full of knowledge. We'll be right back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. We were talking to a lot of UNLV football tonight. You can catch our interviews with wide receiver Ricky White III, Jackson Woodard, linebacker, and head coach Barry Odom of UNLV. Go to our website, thepitpressnm.com, and then you can also check us out, those interviews on YouTube. Our page is the Pit Press. Joe Rigo's a plethora of information. Ed, you got to meet him in Vegas. What did you think?
Yeah, having him on the way you did, and you mentioned, gosh, about the AIDS, about I think he covered everything about UNLV. I like the basketball on turf. His analyst about analyzing the go-go offense of UNLV. He's very excitable. He's a very exciting guy. We got a chance to visit with him just for a couple of minutes, but having him on live like that, and then just talk about the A's, and they don't want the A's, they want an expansion team, and man, he had so much information. It really made me stop and think about a lot of things. But as far as UNLV football, he's on top of it. He's around the program. He mentioned a couple of stories to us that he repeated tonight. So yeah, man, he's excited. He thinks they can make you and I talked about that last week, that he thinks they can be in the 12 team playoff at the end, which really kind of had me raising my eyebrows last week. But the way he talks about their offense and the weapons they have, they won 9 games for the first time since 1999. So when he said that at first, I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes on that a little bit. But you know what, though? They got some playmakers. I think the question mark is the quarterback. Now, he's high on Matt Sluga. But when we interviewed Barry Odom, Coach Odom was like, we got 3 guys. He didn't lean towards Sluga at all. But it sounds like he's a really good quarterback. Maybe he just want to tip his hand. But there's a lot of things to learn from Joe Rigo, that's for sure, about Las Vegas football, no doubt.
Before I go to Rick, we wanted to continue this to do the question of the night, and I wanted to make it funny, but we want to get into some actual nuts and bolts of shit. So, question of the night here on the Pit Press Live: who is your dark horse to win the Mountain West Conference football in 2024? Feel free to throw that in the comments, and I'll circle back before we end the show. I didn't even introduce you guys. The voice of Western New Mexico and Lobo Fence since 1970. He's Mr. Ed Nunez, and then all the way from the Bay Area, Mr. Richard Thompson. Rick, how you doing? Richard,
I'm doing well, Tamari. Great show so far tonight. I enjoyed that interview. I wish I had the gift of gab like that guy. I could listen to him talk all night. Really well done, and enjoyed the interview early in the show. So happy to join you here and talk some more ball.
We might start with some basketball, even though we've been on this football train. He has the good gift of gab. I have the stupid gift of gab, where I can't finish my train of thought. And I don't know if that was related to COVID or not. I don't know, or booze. But anyway, basketball wise, I didn't watch it. I apologize to my listener. I turned the game off because it was painful. It was like watching the summer league. The UNM alumni team, the Enchantment, got ousted in the first round by always a Bronco or once a Bronco in the TBT. Rick, I know you watched. Just break down that game for us a little bit of what you know.
Yeah, early on, it was a really tough watch. Enchantment couldn't get any shots to go down. Alford was really struggling to find a shot pretty much the whole game, and nobody could really get it going. You could really tell that there probably wasn't a lot of practice and gameplay that these guys have had together. And early on, they were getting beat up inside, but they finally kind of matched that, and they pulled back in the second half of that game, and I think had it to about 6 points with maybe about 10 minutes left. And once they got in to that Elam ending, once a Bronco was just able to kind of pull away, and there was kind of a controversial ending to the game, though, where there was an inbound play for the Boise team, and the Lobos got called on a foul on the inbound play. So the game was ended on a free throw, much to the not like of the crowd and the Enchantment players. So was not a very exciting game, and they did make a push in the second half, finally hitting some threes. But you could just tell this team Probably didn't have the same chemistry as the teams in the past with the roster, a bunch of new players, and not a lot of time to prepare. So still hats off to those guys for putting the team together, representing New Mexico, going all the way out there. Roman Martinez got some minutes out there tomorrow. I know he's your favorite. He was still moving at an older age. So good job by those guys. That they just didn't have it that day.
Yeah. Ed, I think you watched a little bit. What'd you think of it?
You know what? When you and I saw each other at the game last Tuesday, I really wasn't impressed with their roster as from years past. And my son said the same thing. I think they lacked size on the wing, a 3-and-D guy. You know, I wasn't the game itself we saw Tuesday night was kind of sloppy, and I think it kind of carried over. They didn't have, as you mentioned, Rick, they didn't have a lot of time to practice, and the chemistry wasn't as good as it was in the past. They had some guys. Scott Bamforth has been a heck of a player for Enchantment for a couple years now. I thought bringing in Bryce Alford would help the outside shooting, but he really couldn't buy a bucket. Mo Udeze had a good game, but they had to pull him out because his free throw shooting was poor. So I agree with Rick. They didn't have quite the chemistry that they did in years past. Made a nice run, but this team just wasn't as good as the teams I don't think that they had in the past couple seasons.
Sticking with, I usually watch it because it's usually on the ESPN. Roman is 36 already. Yeah, I'm 37. I had classes with him. What was I going to say? I always watch it on ESPN, and I just haven't watched it. I know Louisville and Kentucky, the Kentucky team, which is called La Familia, is like an NBA team. I think they're playing Louisville. I saw something on Twitter right before Joe came on, and we were talking UNLV football, but I don't know who's still playing because I used to love to watch it. I have completely forgotten about it this week, especially since baseball's back. I've been watching that. A little bit of summer league action. Jalen House somehow had 9 fouls. Rick, you caught the tail end of that game, and I know as we always talk, you'll watch any kind of basketball. Taken away from Jalen House playing in the summer league. He had 19 points though, right?
Yes, the last 2 games, I think he had 17 and then 19 points. Finally got some minutes. Like you said, had a bunch of fouls and didn't shoot particularly well. But the coach, DJ McClay, who was coaching the Celtics in summer league, he said he really liked House's energy. Of course, the ball pressure that he puts on the guards. He speeds guards up, makes them uncomfortable, and that leads to turnovers like we've seen so many times over the years in Albuquerque. And he was doing the same thing in summer league. So it looks like they really liked his contribution, and this writer that I'm reading here on NESN, whatever this website is comparing him to the summer league Peyton Pritchard, who was maybe the 7th or 8th man on the Boston Celtics championship team this year. So kind of a glue guy that can be counted on to come in and play defense, push the ball with the second unit. And I think Jalen, it sounds like, is going to end up with the D League team. I think it's called the Maine, or G League, excuse me, the Maine Red Claws. Based on what I'm hearing, the organization is impressed with what they saw with him. And, he's just a guy that wants to win. And when you're in an organization that's known for winning, they see things like that. So it sounds like he had a great 2 days to end camp there.
I believe that the main team, it's almost like an NBA team. They won the G League last year. I think they beat the Thunder's G League team. Don't quote me on that. By the way, Rick, NESN, New England Sports Network. You can watch all your Red Sox games on, and the Celtics games. You can watch your beloved Celtics on that network. Yeah, I guess summer league's over now, right? Again, it's something I don't care about. I probably should be more educated about. What I watched of it like 2 weeks ago was complete and utter trash. It was so painful to watch, and people shit on college basketball. It was so hard to watch. I watched soccer over the summer league. That's how bad I thought it was. But
So the summer league championship was Miami Heat 120 over the Memphis Grizzlies 118, and part of the Miami Heat was Isaiah Stevens, point guard from Colorado State, that we're all familiar with. He had a good summer league as well. He finished off with 4 points and 6 assists in that last game. But it sounds like he's a guy that is potentially pushing for a two-way contract or a G League contract as well. So it's good to see other Mountain West guys doing well also.
Yeah, I think Isaiah Stevens, and I know we got a little bit of flack for that. I don't think he had the year he wanted, but I think he's a phenomenal player. So kudos to him. That's pretty cool. That he was there and won that. Back on to Lobo football, and I'm going to share the screen with this. We got this from our friendly neighborhood morale officer, Frank Mercogliano, media relations contact at UNM last night. He sent this out, and this was the email that was, he says, he refers to us as gang. There's a fake news report going on with obvious AI generated things, which is scary. That report is here. And it's Sports News 24/7. I mean, if you go to the site, no one had, apparently they reported that two New Mexico Lobos football players died in a car crash. And they labeled an ESPN report. And they don't even have the names of the players in here. But from a journalistic standpoint, again, this is a fake report you're seeing, and they've excluded the players' names. I do like those uniforms, though. I will say those are pretty cool. I think they wore those 2 years ago. I think that's Miles Kendrick was his name, the quarterback from KU. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of an interesting tidbit that us that get media emails from UNM, it's kind of very scary things. I don't know. I sent that to you guys. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Rick or Ed. I just thought it was kind of insane that there was a fake news report generated by AI saying that 2 New Mexico Lobos had died in a car crash, which is absolutely not true. To me, that's scary. When articles are being, I mean, everything's being generated by now. But if you had seen that article on sportsnews247.co.uk, that 2 New Mexico Lobo football players had died in a car crash, it's not true. Obviously, we would have been talking about it. The Journal would have reported it. The TV stations would have reported it. But I think that's pretty pretty insane. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I just wanted to hit on it pretty quickly before we talk about how cheap UNM football season tickets are. Rick or Ed, do you have any comments on that?
On the
fake news story.
You know what? I've been seeing a lot of fake AI stuff. They had LeBron James, saying something about Darvin Ham, which was AI, and then they had Darvin Ham saying something about LeBron James, which is AI. So I think and then you're seeing all this other AI generated political kind of stuff too. So that story there, when you sent it to me and I read it, I was like, God, that's just not, you're a journalist, Ryan. You've written stories, for the Daily Lobo and the Albuquerque Journal. So that's just, it's just crap, man. I that's what I thought. That's what my first thought was. It's, we're going to be probably seeing a lot more of that too. And it's kind of sad, to kind of seeing stories like that are not true. That was my first thought, because I read a lot. I read the Journal every day. I read the sports page. I read the front page. I'm an avid reader. So when I read that, I was like, I thought it was just a bunch of crap. I really did.
If you read further into the story, it says that they've planned a memorial. Then if you scroll at the bottom of the page, it says that the Oregon Ducks football player, two key players died in car crash. Then news update and capital N, capital E, capital W, capital, the first 3 letters are capitalized, and then S is lowercase, and it says Deion Sanders set to join Packers immediately, and it's a fake the Packers as lowercase, but you can meet dream singles at international dating as an advertisement on the right hand of the page. Rick, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. It's up to you, but it's bonkers to me.
No, you just have to be careful with all the news you see, whether it be on Twitter or elsewhere, especially now that we know even Sports Illustrated has been found using AI bots to write stories. So it's not surprising. It's just sad when they take it to this extent, saying that people's lives have been taken. It's one thing to report a fake hiring or a fake signing, but when you're bringing attention like this, it's crossing the line, obviously, and it's kind of scary. Everyone just has to be careful. It's sad that even with sports news, right, we have to be wary of false information, but that's the day and age we live in, unfortunately.
I mean, that's not even like it's not even remotely like trying to be real news. When you look at it, it's just clearly, I mean, it's scary as we head in towards this election with everything and around the world. But yeah, it's like blatantly fake and ripped off. I couldn't find anything, switching gears from fake news to cheap tickets. I couldn't find anything online. I know that you guys sent it to me and I wish I would have found it, but UNM football season tickets are basically $10, and you both can correct me if I'm wrong. Rick, I know you were going to maybe purchase the tickets. I didn't do my due diligence by continuing to keep looking at it, but Lobo football tickets, so basically you buy, it's 5 games. I know what I was going to do here is bring up the schedule. Let's see where it is. That's the TNT Sports schedule. Here's UNM's football schedule. The home games are in red. And as we've talked about, a very brutal schedule. So you get 2 tickets for basically $10 each. So if you buy the 2-pack, it's free. Rick, you are going to have to explain this. And I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but I know that you are looking at them.
The deal that we saw was starting at the lowest price. It was 2 season tickets for $100 for probably the worst seats, and then to upgrade your seats, I think it was $140 or $150 for 2 season tickets. So when we broke it down for the $100 for 2, you get 5 games. So that's about $10 a game per seat. So pretty good deal. I would suggest anyone, if you're thinking about even going to 1 game, you might as well buy that because it's about the cost of buying 1 ticket at any other college game in America. So,
well, I went to unmtickets.com and here they have nothing for UNM football. They have Dogman the musical, Shrek the musical Junior is heading to Pope Joy at August 2nd through the 11th. The Beatles versus the Stones is on Friday, October 11th. And then a live concert, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, is Saturday, October 5th. And then there's the Princess Bride in concert. I'll be damned. But I don't see anything about, I guess I have to go to golobos.com. So I'm probably doing myself a disservice. Ed, when you hear that, and we have sort of talked about it, and again, I'm trying to find new ways for us to talk about this football team as we enter this unknown. The season starts a month from today. So it is literally right around the corner. We're less than a month away from it tomorrow. As you can see on there, Montana State from beautiful Bozeman, Montana, heads to Albuquerque. And Montana State was preseason picked 2nd in the Big Sky. And I'm reiterating it again. They are betting favorites to beat UNM at home on that day at 2:00 at University Stadium. But Ed, we had kind of talked to Jeff Symbieta about this in Vegas. And it's just not the stadium, but you have to give people a reason to go. The NMSU game was a cluster to get in and out of last year. And that's like the only game that people care about around here these days. And if you can't even have success getting into that stadium for 1 game, what makes you want to go see Montana State, Fresno State, Air Force, Wyoming, and a former Pac-12 member, or whatever they are now, Washington State, the Tupac, as I call it. It feels like, and I've said this a lot, that UNM football is its own worst enemy. And we have had commenters, listeners on here saying Bronco will win. It's, as I've said, and I'm saying it selfishly, for Bronco to win, it helps us with what we're doing here, because when we talk basketball, when we had Kurt Roth on, we have more people listening. I don't know what it is about football here. I think it goes back to Rocky Long. It was like BCS bowl game or bust. And maybe dipping to FCS and trying to compete for a national championship would put butts in those seats. Because those FCS schools that compete for national championships, they fill those stadiums. If you look at Montana State, James Madison, North Dakota State, those look like fantastic environments. Ed, with that long-winded ramble of mine there, it's kind of giving something, what are you doing for people to go to the game? With those season tickets, I mean, that to me is like they're almost giving away tickets for what you think about when you're trying to go see. And I know I'm comparing the apples to oranges, but when you're trying to go see like a Tennessee, an Alabama, a USC, people here used to bitch about paying $12 for parking. And I'm sure those of you listening probably know this. When you pay to park to go see USC, it's probably just as much as your game ticket. But Ed, I hope you can find what I'm trying to fish out of you with that long ramble, is giving Lobo fan a reason to just not attend the pit, but attend games at University Stadium.
I think one of the things that when we were in Las Vegas, one of the things that Jeff Symbieta made a point of saying was that you have to give them a reason to come. And you mentioned the game against New Mexico State last year. They had 28,000, but a lot of those fans did not get in until the second quarter, and that frustrated a lot of people. And that's just the truth. Again, if you're gonna, the prices are good. We don't know what the team's going to be like. I'm still very optimistic after we talked to Coach Mendenhall in Las Vegas. A lot of people speaking very highly of him. I know the schedule's tough. I know it's a new team. I know all that. I'm not saying they're going to a bowl or anything like that, but I'm very optimistic after listening to him and listening to some other people speak about him. But the other thing that Jeff Symbieta said, who's run the New Mexico Bowl for 19 years, he said this too, that it's hard to get people in there. It's a bottleneck there, and he would know. And I think that's a frustrating thing, the marketing part. And then last year with New Mexico State, and I don't want anybody to think I'm being overly critical. This is just the truth. They had a hard time getting people in, and then there's restrooms shut down on one end. It was not. I don't know if it was a great experience. I don't know. The attendance after that wasn't so good. I kind of told you what I thought the first game attendance this year against Montana State would be, and what it would be after if they lose that game. But again, Coach Mendenhall said this to us in Las Vegas. He knows they're 4-point dogs. He just smiled about it. What's he supposed to do? He's got to go out there and win the game, right? He has to win. Now, if they win the first game, does that mean more people come for the next home game? Does that mean they sell out the stadium around September? The next home game they have is September 21st.
Yeah.
Traditionally, we've mentioned Lobo football is a hard sell here. We've mentioned that. And Ryan, I sent you that game. I don't know if you saw it, Rick, or not. That game in 2004 when the New Mexico played Texas Tech. I found that online. And I was talking to Mike Powers. We were texting back and forth today. That team was tough, man. That team took on the personality of head coach Rocky Long. They had some dogs. Look on the line. Claude Terrell, Robert Turner. They had some pros that went, Dontrell Moore would have gone to the pros had he not hurt his knee. Hank Baskett, Blake Lagone, Josh Bazadet, Mike Mahorek. Those dudes were some ballers. And if you look around, you look at the stadium, it was packed. There was people there. So they did have people there when Coach Long was there. Now, why anybody would want to move on from Rocky Long, I have no idea. That was one of the worst decisions, maybe the worst decision in Lobo football history. Think about it. Since then, where's the program? Where's the program? It's not been very good. And again, people can get mad at me for saying whatever. That's just the truth. It hasn't been good. I'm hoping it gets better. Of course I am. I'm going to be as many games as I can. I'm always going to root for the program. But when you mention going back to the prices, I think it's going to be a good team. I think they're going to be much better than people think. I really do. Now, are they going to win 5 or 6 games? Kurt Roth thinks so. He didn't say 6. He said they'll be on the cusp of 5 and maybe pushing for 6. We'll see. Does that mean more fans come out? The last time they had winning seasons was with Bob Davie, and I've said this before, it didn't move the attendance meter. They still averaged 22,000. And, Rick, you mentioned they're running the triple option. They still had some speed in the backfield, though, man. That was one of the best backfields New Mexico's ever had, and it still didn't sell. So I'm still optimistic. I'm always going to be not the glass half full guy, but, optimistic that Bronco Mendenhall will turn this program around, and I'm hoping we did see it in 2004. Look at the stands. Those stands were full. That it can happen again. I hope so. But the price itself, Ryan, again, these are, Rick, you mentioned it, what, 2 for 150 if you want to upgrade. It's not bad, man. That's not bad at all. So hopefully the product on the field is good enough that people want to come back.
And I think I'm bought all the way back in. I'm turning my tide here, Tamari. I'm having faith in Bronco after I've heard him talk more and I'm reading more about him here. Let's not forget, we've said during his reign at Virginia football, he consistently possessed one of the best offenses in the country. From when he took over in 2015, his output improved every year and peaked as high as 21st in scoring in the nation. And let's not forget, all the way back at his BYU days, the type of weapon he had at quarterback. Well, that was Mr. Taysom Hill, who kind of made this dual threat quarterback something that he carried on to Virginia, where he had quarterback Brennan Armstrong, and they really excelled there. So even though Bronco is a defensive minded coach that was, focused on controlling the ball, at Virginia, they really threw the ball all over the place, and they used their quarterbacks much like a Taysom Hill. And even in some of their games, they used their athletes, which were quarterbacks, at taking carries and using them in gimmick plays. So in some of the interviews I heard Mendenhall give at media days, he was talking about position they have on the team, of football player, right? And the way that they're going to use those guys. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see, 5 or 6 different guys get carries. We see different guys possibly throwing the ball. And I'm really interested in how they use Dampier in the offense. But I really think Mendenhall will get the most out of him based on just his history. And I know Devin Dampier is not as big as Taysom Hill, but he definitely has some skill and the ability to both run and throw. So I think I'm turning my view here, and I think they're going to be a little bit better than I was once thinking.
There have been a few people that asked me how they're going to be, and we talked to Jeff Simieta, and he was saying on the opening drive, I think before Vegas, he was like, I don't know how they're going to be. I feel the same way, and I'm not trying to steal that from Simieta. I really don't know how they're going to be. I look at it, there could be 5 or 6 wins. We don't know what Tony Sanchez is going to be down at New Mexico State. Is it going to be a disciple, like continuing that Jerry Kill train rolling? We don't know that. I will say this, though, and I'm back into, and I know I'm in my late 30s and we're playing video games, Rick, but that's just the generation we are. I tried to start a dynasty with UNM, and when you create the dynasty, you can look before you create a coach or just choose the coach that is generated for you. It shows you the last 20 years of the program from real life. And, you select like even somebody like East Carolina, they've got some winning seasons in there. You select Fresno State, you'll see what they've done. And obviously you select somebody like Alabama and Georgia, it's going to show you that they've won a national title, specific year, 2009, 2011, 2019, 2020, 2021. And then you look at UNM and you go back, and I purposely scrolled back, and you just see that 3-year mark after Rocky, where in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, they won 7 games combined.
Right. 2 winning seasons in the past 10 years, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's to look at that. And again, we're not trying to harp on the program. It's just like, I've said it. If Bronco Mendenhall can't win here, then who can? But to see, you know, when you go back and you see the 1-11 and the 1-11 from the Mike Locksley era, and I think Bob Davie did, you know, 3-9 and 4-8, and then he in 2015 things kind of changed. In 2016, you know, they got to the New Mexico Bowl and beat UTSA. It's just I don't. It's and once again, I'll say it. It's frustrating. And I'm all for, you know, believing and mentally thinking about something and putting it into fruition. It can be done. And maybe seeing yourself, in this instance, seeing yourself winning the game, seeing yourself beat Montana State. Maybe you don't beat Arizona, but you go in there and punch them in the mouth. And Ed, you were talking about those teams from the late 90s and especially the early 2000s under Rocky Long. Those were some big bad dudes. I mean, Ian Clark was you know, just throwing those names. I mean, it's the Mike Tyson thing that I always jokingly say, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. But I'm curious what happens if they beat Montana State. And then I'm very, very curious, even more so, with what happens if they lose to Montana State, because then you go to U of A and then you get a bye and then you go to Auburn and then you get Fresno State, which, you know, we all know. And it's just, are you going to be 0-4 rolling into New Mexico State? Because at that point, I don't know what the fans will be. And it will, I mean, right. We are at the possibility of losing with 2 Saturdays to go in August. When does basketball start? Under a new coach who has been a proven winner.
Let me jump in on that real quick, because, you know, again, we're jumping the gun on that. In my opinion, again, Rick, you brought up a lot of good points about what he did at Virginia, man, about offensively, and we have questions as to what he's going to do here. And I think one of the things what the New Mexico's been looking for is that solid quarterback. How many years have we been looking for that? Now, the thing is, Rick, you know this better than anybody, the line of scrimmage. How is the offensive line going to be? Now, defensively, we talked to Gabe Lopez at Media Day. They had a hard time getting pressure on the quarterback last year. Now, Gabe Lopez thinks they're a lot better there. Are they going to be able to generate some pressure? Sean Ryder wrote in the Journal he thought the secondary was a little bit of a question, but they got some transfers in. They're real high on the transfers from San Diego State. They're real high on him. Now, Coach Mendenhall, and you said it yourself, Rick, the guy, and I've said it, the Mendenhall effect. He's a good coach. He's a proven winner. This program here, now, Sean Ryder said it to you, Ryan, and we were kind of surprised. He said Virginia was in worse shape than UNM. He said that, and that kind of raised some eyebrows with us. But if he did that at Virginia, and Virginia was in worse shape than UNM was, what can he do here? Now, I may be the eternal optimist in saying, giving him, I give him credit because he's won. He's a winner. Okay. Now you're asking a question. If he can't win, who can win here? I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking he's going to win. He's won before. The other thing he said to us, Ryan, in Las Vegas, Coach Mendenhall, physicality. He talked about the physicality. And back then, we mentioned Mike Mahorek, Lagone, Josh Bazinet, Ian Clark. Those dudes were some dogs, man. They made plays. So if he's got guys like that, and the only problem is keeping those guys together now with this NIL thing. It's tough. But I'm not saying they're going to a FCS bowl. I didn't say that, but I'm very optimistic, much more optimistic with him at the helm than again, no disrespect to Coach Gonzalez. We liked him a lot. I was hoping he'd win. I was hoping Coach Loxley would win. Coach Davie did win. Only 2 winning seasons, you mentioned, Rick, in the last 10 years. And that's the state of the program. So, but you get a guy in here like this. How many bowl games has he been to? 16 of 17 years. That gives you some hope. And I mentioned this again. I'll keep repeating it. I thought the hiring of Bronco Mendenhall was every bit as important as the hiring of Steve Alford for the football program. I'm optimistic. I am. That doesn't mean I think they're going to win the Mountain West. I think they're going to be better than people think. And again, I know the program has been down for a while. I think with him at the helm, a guy that's been a proven winner, there's at least some hope that they'll be better, I think.
But Ryan, I am on board with the start of the year is going to be rough. I mean, they could be looking at a 1-3 or 1-4 start, but I think once they get into the middle of the schedule, there's some winnable games and they'll be more comfortable at that point. So it could be a very rough start, as you're saying. Just the talent gap when they play against U of A and Auburn, we're going to see there's just a difference in size of linemen, a different speed that SEC schools play at compared to Mountain West schools. So those games, like Ed is saying, are we going to see just the discipline from UNM to not give turnovers themselves and have self-induced penalties? So it's going to be a very tough start, and I think they can, find their way in the middle of this season though and scoop up some wins.
It's to me that schedule there. It's I look at it and we don't know what Utah State's going to be with everything that happened there. They might rally around it. I mean, those poor kids couldn't leave. We talked to Ike Larson, the safety there, Ed. He was fantastic to talk to, keeping
Really
his head up.
liked him a lot. Yeah.
Really like talking to him a lot. I don't know what San Diego State's going to be with Sean Lewis. Again, he won at Kent State. He was with Dion last year at Colorado. I was reading the comments. Sorry.
But we are exactly 1 month away from football, so let's be grateful for that.
Bless it. There are 4 or 5 games that day, and UNM is one of them. It's on Fox Sports 1, so you will get there will be some national a lot of national eyes on it, especially those that sports bet, because
the line that I am seeing now, Ryan, on ESPN Sportsbet is Montana State minus 7.5.
I wish Jacob was on.
It's the spread is growing. If what you're saying, it opened at 4.5 and now it's at 7.5.
FanDuel had it at 7. That's what Sean Ryder told us in Vegas.
Oh, I thought it was lower. Gotcha.
It was, and then somebody had it at 4.5. So it is Montana State minus
and
7.5.
Later that night, Nevada has to play SMU, and SMU is favored by 24.5
in Reno. Wow. There's only 4 games that day. The biggest one is Florida State and Georgia Tech, which is in Dublin. It's that no, I don't think it's the Shamrock Series. I think that's what Notre Dame does. It's the Aer Lingus football game. It's on ESPN at 10. Then once you're watching that game, it's Montana State and UNM all by itself on FS1. Delaware, there's 4 games that day. Delaware State plays Hawaii. They don't have a time set for that. It'll probably be later on in the evening. We talked to Timmy Chang and Peter Manuma, who's a defensive back for Hawaii. He was awesome. But yeah, I thought there was I was misspeaking. I thought that there were about 10 or 16 teams that played that day. So it's only 8 and there's only 4 games.
And 3 Mountain West
UNM
teams.
Yeah, 3. That's very odd, isn't it? How they got this game is beyond me. But I mean, it's good for being on FS1, but at minus 7.5. I'm going to check Caesars. Let's see if I can. I'm trying to figure out maybe if Caesars has a line. And they don't right now. UNM. Rick, I mean, I wish Jacob was on with us, Jacob Neff. Are you kind of shocked that it's 7.5 or no? What you know about gambling?
I am, because I've never seen a D1 program not at home, right? Not favored or not favored by this amount of points. So definitely would be betting on the Lobos if I was gambling on this game. But I guess I'm not super surprised with all the unknowns the Lobos have going into this season, and with the team that Montana State has coming back. So it's going to be an experienced team that runs the read option, and the Lobos are going to be up for a tall task, man. Are you surprised about that?
I am. I'm on Action Network, which I use a lot. It opened at 4.5, and the consensus where they compile all the sports books at 7.5. And the best line is plus 7.5, minus 7.5 or plus 7.5 on FanDuel, New Jersey. I am surprised. App State beat UNM in the big house, so it could happen, but let's hope not. This is not Michigan, man. This isn't a question about trying to fill up the stadium, or excuse me, this isn't a full house. We're actually about trying to see if they can fit 20, they can get 20,000 fans in a 44,000 seat stadium to play fucking Montana State. It's just
and
like,
it wouldn't be a huge upset for Montana State
no,
if they
they're
win.
favored.
But let's
They're
hope,
favored to win.
like he said, let's hope we don't see it either way.
Yeah, Jacob will join us for football, and we'll kind of announce here in the next week what we're going to do for college football. Jacob said he wasn't shocked. They were underdogs. I don't think he expected it to be 7.5, but when I heard 7.5, I did the I need to get that soundbite. I did the what, and like my kind of head exploded. There's a lot of unknown. We've said that a lot on this show. There's a lot of unknown. We're going to go back to before we get out of here, we're going to go back to our question of the night. Who is your dark horse to win the Mountain West Conference? Not basketball, football in 2024. I think a lot of people, what I saw in the comments is CSU. I don't know what they were picked, maybe 7th or 8th. I'd have to go. I mean, I do know they were picked. I don't remember. I would have to go back and look. But to some of the comments, I know
Ryan, number 5 by Lindy's. CSU
they were picked
number 5th, number
Lindy's,
5.
Okay. So Lindy, that's at least Lindy's. I don't know what the media did. So this one, that's it. We're trading Ryan for Joe. Well, you should have heard him talk about the Lobos.
Miguel Sanchez.
CSU is my dark horse for the Mountain West Football Conference Championship. Resident porn star and amateur boxer Tommy Gunn. I ain't hear no bell. CSU has to make a bowl game first. There you go. Jimmy H, UNLV. I don't know if they're necessarily a dark horse. I'm not just saying this because we had Joe on tonight. I'm going to stick with this. I think UNLV can win the conference. 7 returning starters on defense. Ricky White, an All-American. You have quarterbacks that have experience. I know it's at the FCS level. As I've gotten older, I've really enjoyed the FCS, man. I love it. And I might want to watch JUCO college just because, as I always mention, Last Chance U. It's I don't know. The NFL is on decline for me. I will still watch. I will still gamble. It is still king. I'm not saying I'm abandoning it. I think the Super Bowl has lost its mantra with the same logo, with this. And what they do. I don't know. Now I'm sounding like an old man. I mean, Ed, what you have learned, who would you take to win the conference?
You know, I saw the, you know what? I still like Boise State. When we were out there at media day, I was impressed by Coach Danielson. Yeah.
Danielson, yeah, Spencer Danielson.
I was impressed. I sat as he was at the podium. I was listening to him. I really enjoyed, again, and then we had the defensive end from Egypt. What a story that was. That guy's 12.5 sacks last year, and didn't even know how to play football until 2019. Was face masking and grabbing everybody, getting all kinds of penalties. I really enjoyed talking to him. We were able to interview him. So I'll still say Boise State. I don't know if they're a dark horse, but I'll still go with them. Although Joe Rigo's got me sold on UNLV, man. Just listening to him basketball on the turf. I loved his analogy about that. They've got all the weapons, so but I'll still take Boise State. I'll still go with them.
That was the defensive end we talked to. He was the co-defensive player of the year with Jackson Woodard. I always butcher his name. I'm a true American. I feel bad. Ahmed Hassanin. He's from Egypt. He's been playing football. Yeah, Hassanin. He was awesome to talk to. We have an interview with him. We'll get that out. Maybe we can get somebody on from Boise to come talk to us. Apparently, they think they're better than everybody in Albuquerque because they have been quite hard to get a hold of. Rick, if you had to pick somebody, who would it be?
It's still early on for me. I'm still learning a little bit. I do like the Colorado State pick, actually. Coach Norvell is firing up the media, firing up his boys. They got all their returning weapons at receiver, and I believe they're returning quarterback. So I like what they got on offense. I do look for Colorado State to get over the hump this year and make that bowl game, but I don't know if it's enough to win the conference. I think Boise far and away is the favorite, but I do like your UNLV guys as well. So I still need to research here. 1 month to go, so I'll make my pick at a later date.
The quarterback at Boise State is Malachi Nelson. He transferred from USC. Yeah, and Colorado State does open at Texas. All right. Hey, I want to thank a Lobo fan since 1917. I almost said 1917. 1970. I didn't do that on purpose there.
That was a heck of a movie. 1917 was a hell of a good movie.
I was just about to say it's an amazing movie. What I try to learn something new about World War I as much. I don't know as much about it as what I studied at my alma mater behind me. I know more about World War II and what went on after the war from the American standpoint. And he's from the Bay Area, and I didn't get to do it this time. A two-time offensive state lineman for San Juan Mendoza and the St. Pius Sartans. Played basketball for Damian Segura, and an MVP of a 35-year-old men's Filipino league in the Bay Area. Mr. Rick Thompson. Rick, thanks for joining me a little bit later tonight. I appreciate both of you. Please check out our website. We're going to have more content as we get this train moving, full of those cliches as we're storming towards. Thank God I'm not a CEO of a major corporation. Check out our website, thepitpressnm.com. You can go there, or you can go to our YouTube channel. Hit like, hit subscribe. We are going to have our interviews from Mountain West Conference Media Days on our website, so you'll be able to find Jackson Woodard, linebacker for UNLV. Once again, he was voted preseason Mountain West Conference with Ahmed Hassanin. I don't want to butcher it. Those two were the preseason defensive player of the years, voted by the members of the media. We did not get a vote. I don't get a vote. And head coach Variota of UNLV will be there. Check out our Instagram at the Pit Press NM. Check out our Twitter at the Pit Press NM. And we have gotten a few emails, but email us at thepitpressnm@gmail.com. We'd be more than happy to take some suggestions for the show, maybe how we can make it better, what you like, what you don't like. We would appreciate it. And I'm going to just do this very quickly.
I just wanted to say we have a great Instagram page. I finally created my own Instagram just so I could follow our own one. And what we're putting out there is good stuff. Following all New Mexico sports and great artwork always by Eric, and video content too. So check out the Instagram stuff. You're missing out if you're not checking it out.
Appreciate that. Yeah, Eric is the genius and the brains behind everything we do, I guess, marketing wise and content wise. God, that makes me cringe. I am the lazy print journalist, and I only want to write. So this has been a very, 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 I'm not going to ask him that question. I'm not going to end on a depressing note there. Yeah, kudos to Eric. He does all of that. He's phenomenal. What did I say? I'm the lazy writer. I'm going to try to write more. I was going to try to write my own thoughts from the Mountain West Conference Media Days, even though it was 2 weeks ago, and kind of pick a winner of the conference. It'd be nice to maybe see, somebody come out of nowhere. I mean, really, UNLV would probably be it. Very quickly, what we're going to try to do, and we're hoping to launch in about the next 2 weeks, is a college football show every Saturday morning. Look, I'm a big college game day guy. I despise ESPN. College game day is my jam, and 30 for 30. But what we want to do is dedicate and try to help talk more Lobo football every Saturday morning. And then we're also going to have a couple guys talking lines. Jacob Neff will be on with us, and we'll give like 4 or 5 games that we really like. We're still in that from Bear and what he did on game day, but we'll also talk about UNM in that regards. But what we're going to try to do down the road, and we have gotten guests. We were going to do a live show last night. Some things have changed. We'll be live tonight, and then we'll do something tomorrow night as well, and see what we can't talk about. But every Saturday during the football season, we're hoping to come to you live on this platform at 9 a.m. Mountain Time and talk for about an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on the guests we can get. We're trying to think of a name for the show. You can email us. Ed kind of had a good idea. We're just floating it out there. If you name the show, we're spitballing some ideas. We're trying to get that show launched on August 10th or maybe August 17th. August 10th. August 17th might actually be hard to do now, because that is the last fall full practice of fall camp for UNM that morning. So maybe we can do something that Sunday morning. But that's our idea, and we plan to bring it to you. And we're definitely going to be on air that morning of August 24th to talk Montana State, and we'll see who we can't get on that week. Former Lobo players, hopefully some local media members. I'm trying to hunt down somebody from Montana State who covers them, who can maybe truly tell us if they can really come in here and cover that 7.5 point spread against UNM. So those are our ideas. Feel free to comment, and as I always jokingly tell us, we suck. Tell us what you like. Ronnie Chavez, any news on future content? Yeah, that's what we're going to try to do. Obviously, basketball is going to be a different beast. We have to brainstorm that. But right now, our focus is definitely football with UNM in this new era under Bronco Mendenhall. You guys should do your own game show from the stadium with a stage and maybe guests and predictions for the game. I mean, in an ideal world, that would be fantastic. Ed could be Lee. Well, Ed, I got a new nickname for you now. Oops. Meant to spell type Lee Corso Predictor.
I love it.
I didn't say that. He did. Yeah, I love it too. That would be a fantastic idea. The powers that be probably wouldn't like it.
That gives me an idea.
Go ahead, Rick.
So. No, I don't want to say it
good.
on there. Whoever gave me an idea, though.
I'm going to say this very quickly because I've been talking a lot and I'm losing energy. When the New Mexico Bowl was here, I wanted to go live when I had my Saturday morning show on 610 because of the connection with Jeff Symbieta and dear friend Mike Vitale, Ed, who was my producer, who I loved to see every Saturday. There, I hope he's doing well. We should have him on the show to talk New Mexico State. He would love that. I asked him, I was like, I'd love to go live from the stadium. Well, one, at the time, nobody from 610 helped me out. So I'd have no idea how to go live via radio. So that put a kibosh on that immediately. And second, I'll never forget, he was like, it sucks to go live from that stadium. There's no internet. That would be something cool. I don't know. That would probably be something very good for men's basketball. We did go live from the pit once before Utah State. But I don't know how we could do that because the powers that be that UNM don't think they care. Wouldn't want to know if they would want to help us out. But we would probably need their approval to be there to do something like that. So I like that idea, though. Any last comments from Ed or Rick?
No, just great job, guys, and enjoyed the conversation.
Rick.
Nothing here. Thank you guys. Have a good evening to all the listeners. Thank you guys for chiming in.
We appreciate everybody listening. We will be back tomorrow night. We'll figure out a show for tomorrow. I will figure out a show for tomorrow night. Special thanks to Joe Arrigo from Franchise Sports Media in Las Vegas, Nevada. And hey, Eric, good job on the videos. Once again, go check out our YouTube. Go check out our what was I going to say?
Everything.
YouTube page and our website at the Pit Press NM. Go check out everything. And I will end on this. Why is it so hard that UNM doesn't help? Can you elaborate? I would have to write a book the size of Stephen King's It to let you know. Everybody have a good night. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
See the envy me, passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden on P. When you started, whole team walk in, we the party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get out my shell, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. They fight with me, no